What advice would you give to both players and parents alike about choosing Alfredo to train with, and what can they expect from that?
I think the difference will be very, very obvious in a very short period of time when you have when you watch. You don't even have to take lessons from somebody else. Just watch someone else give lessons, and then watch Alfredo do a lesson, and you'll see the constant interaction, the constant engagement of your son, I guess, or daughter, but mostly son, during any kind of a training session. You'll see continuous feedback.
What would you tell other parents who consider having their son work with Alfredo, and what can he do for them?
I would highly recommend Alfredo to other baseball parents. We feel like Alfredo has helped Toby mentally and physically, and I would tell them the younger you can get your son in with Alfredo, the better it would be for him.
He, quite frankly, sees what I can't see. When he sees Zane pitch and he corrects, it's because he's seeing something that I can't even quite, frankly see. And I'm now sort of the outsider looking in, because both he and now my son can sort of sense where the illities are and how to make it better. I think one lesson where you watch Alfredo teach and watch somebody else teach will make it very, very obvious what the right choice should be.
Tammy, parents are naturally very protective of their children and who they allow to influence their children. What were your original feelings when Alfredo approached Toby and the relationship began to develop over time?
Well, we were open to Toby working with Alfredo. He was struggling a little bit physically at the plate. And afterward, the first night, after we worked with Alfredo the first night, Alfredo tweaked a couple physical things and started talking to him about the mental approach. And it put Toby in such a relaxed state and an open mind. We were really excited to continue working with him.
Zane has had other coaching and rec ball on all-star teams, travel teams, and now in high school. What have you observed about the way these coaches and Alfredo communicate with and treat Zane, the person?
Well, on a personal level, I think that a lot of the other coaches don't have the basis for coaching that Alfredo has. If you watch them coach Zane or instruct Zane, there's not much interaction. There's not the continuous flow of information. I don't think they see what Alfredo sees. I don't think they're able to articulate the way Alfredo articulates and is able to relate to Zane at his age level, understanding his emotional state, his physical state, his mental state. Those things are not taken into consideration when you look at the rest of the coaching that Zane had.
How did that conversation go down between you and your parents, deciding to have Alfredo be your advisor, and how does that conversation continue to go along as he's been your advisor for 2 years now?
Okay, that was probably the most important thing to me, as far as getting to know Alfredo off the field, was a respect factor. I have the utmost respect for him, and a big reason for that respect is that he wanted to meet my family right off the bat.
How much has Zane developed in his delivery, and how thorough has Alfredo been in honing that delivery?
Well, it's changed dramatically from Zane. I mean, I first taught him how to pitch, and obviously I didn't do a particularly good job, not ever having pitched myself. He transitioned from a very sort of iron mic overhand throw, struggling with accuracy, to now a more classic style of pitching with accuracy beyond my expectations.
You're a very knowledgeable baseball fan. When Alfredo taught Toby the 7-ball concept for hitting, what impact did that have on you and Toby?
7-ball had a huge impact on both of us. For Toby, it made him emphasize the process more than the result. And for myself, it made me do the same. So I reacted differently to Toby's at-bats on what he did right, as opposed to was it a hit or not.
Again, this is your son, and his well-being is your largest concern. How does Alfredo stress safety in his pitching mechanics, and how does that make you feel as a parent?
Well, to me, it's really the only important part, both in the stressing of the downtime, stressing of the very fixed periods of pitching, number of pitch count approach taken into consideration, whether he was on a travel team or the high school team, to put that into context of the pitching lessons is of huge value to me, because ultimately Zane will not progress if he turns out to be injury prone. What I've seen with other players that Alfredo has developed, that he has taken from injury into injury free, Zane has pretty much never really experienced any injury or any kind of pain from pitching, and that's a testament, I believe, to Alfredo's approach and the emphasizing speed as the only metric of success on the mound.
Zane is a very driven, very competitive person, and has had a challenge harnessing the emotional side of the game at times. What has Alfredo done to address that issue, and how has that helped him?
And that he has been incredibly successful at doing, where I think people that would see Zane today, that maybe would have seen him 2 or 3 years ago, would say that that's a different pitcher on the mound, because he has harnessed his emotion and his physical, put that together into a much more refined pitcher.
And he definitely put my parents at ease very quickly. It's for them to hand me off to a stranger, and give a lot of time to work on my game.
How did Alfredo support Toby besides the actual training sessions?
Yeah, not only does Alfredo come to Toby's games and observe what he does on the field, he also, if he's not at the games, he calls Toby. The first thing Toby does when he gets in the car after a game is talk to Alfredo. And he goes over each at bat, what pitch did you hit, what was the result, but mainly just talking about the process with Toby afterwards. So Toby does have, it reinforces what Toby did correctly and what he can work on next time.
My family is very, very pleased with Alfredo. I'm a big fan of him, and I know that Alfredo is a big fan of my family as well. And
how has Alfredo supported Zane aside from the training sessions?
Good or bad. I mean, it's all baseball all the time. So beyond the time that you're actually talking or on the mound or doing a bullpen or hitting, it is an instruction about baseball as who do you want to be on the mound? What kind of style do you want to portray? That constant discussion about baseball outside of actually throwing the baseball, to me, is just as valuable as the actual throwing of the ball. Discussions regarding flexibility, mental prep, all those things have been a huge part of the instruction outside, quite frankly, of the actual mound when pitching.
So it's been a lot of fun, and my parents are very, very appreciative of what he's been doing with me.